What up guys, your boy Quake, and before we get into this video, first follow me on my social media at QuakeGW on Instagram and on Twitter. I'm trying to get my numbers up, and on there I keep you guys updated on this channel, what kind of videos to expect next, and much more. Now that that's out the way, let's talk about what is going on with 6ix9ine. He's been involved in a lot of things recently that was leading up to his album Dummy Boy. First, I'm going to talk about how and why he got into this predicament where he's possibly facing life in prison, and then I'm going to talk about what to expect moving forward when it comes to his sentencing. I'm going to be comparing a lot of what happened to 6ix9ine to the situation with Ja Rule and Irv Gotti, because they got shut down by the FBI as well. So this kind of goes hand in hand because they had ties with a lot of street things as well. So I'm going to be making a lot of comparisons to that, as well as 50 Cent, because he was involved in that and he's dealt with a lot of these type of situations where they tried to get him locked up as well. Now, if you're familiar with 6ix9ine, you know he's had a lot of issues with law enforcement, and it stems back all the way to 2015 of his sexual harassment charges. And the people surrounding 6ix9ine, including his manager, also has had a lot of run-in with the police with a lot of charges that they were facing. The most notable one is obviously Shotti, which is the CEO of Treyway. We all know 6ix9ine and Shotti were rolling together in a lot of videos. They're constantly together, and the FBI, police, whatever, whoever was constantly watching what they were doing because they were constantly getting in trouble. And 6ix9ine unfortunately got himself into trouble by instigating a lot of problems with a lot of people. He would go on social media, threaten people, call out a bunch of people, and this was just more fuel to the fire so the FBI could eventually get him. In February 2015, 6ix9ine wasn't famous. Nobody knew who he was, and he didn't have any money. He was broke. In that time is when he performed a sexual performance on a 13-year-old girl, and then he ended up, because he didn't have any money, pleading guilty to that, and that caused a lot of problems for him. He said he pleaded guilty because he didn't have a lawyer. He was scared. You know, he was facing possibly 10, 20, 30 years, and he was very young at the time, so obviously he was very scared in this situation. And he pleaded guilty on October 2015, but the sentencing for that was put off almost 3 years later. Following that, Shotti of Treyway Entertainment, the CEO, who's also close to 6ix9ine, had his own issues with law enforcement. In May 2016, he was arrested and pulled over, and when he was pulled over, he ran from the cops. He was eventually caught with heroin, marijuana, a grinder, rolling papers, and a machete. Then when he was called into court on September 2016, he didn't show up. He ended up becoming fugitive of the week, and he said he was on the run for 2 years, but while he was on the run, he was signing artists. As you can tell, both 6ix9ine and Shotti were involved with a lot of things involving police officers. So of course they would have eyes on them, and what they did after they got involved with these things, they made things worse by getting involved in more incidents. And this is what caused the FBI to eventually get involved. And in 2017 is when 6ix9ine really started to take off with his music. When he dropped Gummo, that's when his career really started to take off. And of course, the police started to close in more and more on him because they saw in the music videos that he was getting involved with a lot of different gangs. The moment that the FBI decided to really focus on 6ix9ine and the people around him was on April 2018. This is when a lot of stuff started happening with 6ix9ine, a lot of shootings started happening, and this is when the FBI, even when they arrested him, said they started to close in and focus on him and his crew a lot more. On April 19th, 2018, there was a shooting at a Casanova music video shoot, and at that time, Casanova and 6ix9ine allegedly were beefing and weren't really that cool. Then just a few days later, there was a possibly related shooting outside the Barclays Center following the Adrian Broner fight. Treyway Shotti was initially arrested for the shooting, then released. Not long after, though, his longtime associate Fubanger was arrested instead. The FBI also presented footage of 6ix9ine being there at the event and causing certain trouble. Then just the following month, in May, 6ix9ine was arrested for driving with a suspended license after parking in front of a hydrant. He was hit with the charge of assaulting a police officer for the related incident the next day. Then in July 2018 is when things started getting serious with 6ix9ine and the people around him. This is when he was kidnapped and robbed, and then months later he found out that it was a former member of his own management team, and that person was arrested as a suspect. And at this point is when I feel like 6ix9ine should have separated himself from the whole Treyway thing, from Shotti, from all those people, because it's clear after that, at least to me, that these people don't have my best interests and that there's going to be more problems down the line, and that was proven to be true. Then in August 2018, 6ix9ine was with Uncle Murder, Casanova, and 50 Cent, and of course, there was a shooting there as well. Then in September 2018, there was the raid by the FBI. While 6ix9ine was in Dubai filming a music video, they found an AR-15 in a backpack that held the credit cards and ID of a man who was a victim of a Midtown robbery in April. And this is the same video that 6ix9ine recorded himself of Shotti and a couple people robbing someone and threatening their life. And this is what eventually got him into trouble. When they found this, they started linking pieces together. The FBI started getting involved. And if you know, if the FBI gets involved, it's very, very serious. Then in October 2018, after doing that sexual harassment charge back in 2015, he was finally sentenced. He got 4 years probation and 1,000 hours of community service. And this was basically a slap on the wrist for 6ix9ine. Even 6ix9ine was thankful for this. The judge basically let him go on something a lot lighter because he could have been facing a lot of time in prison. In that same month, 6ix9ine was scheduled to have a dinner with his label head, Elliot, at NYC's restaurant Felipe Chow, and some of the members of the rapper's entourage, which was Treyway, Shotti, and other people, attempted to get in. Shotti reportedly hit a bodyguard with a chair. Crippy, who's the other guy that got arrested in this whole FBI raid, was shot in the stomach. Soon after, Shotti turned himself in, but then bailed himself out immediately. And as you can see, things are just piling on. And of course, this was just building up more and more stuff for the FBI to eventually get them all locked up. On November 8th, 2018, earlier this month, 6ix9ine was filming a video with Kanye West in Beverly Hills, and apparently there was a shooting there as well. Then for driving with a suspended license in May, in November 14, 2018, he basically got off of that as well. There were just dropped charges to just simply disorderly conduct. So another slap on the wrist for 6ix9ine. So this is 2 chances already the judge has given him. They said stay out of trouble for a year and avoid any jail time. Now this is where things got crazy. On November 15, 2018, he was on the Breakfast Club and announced basically that he fired everyone, got rid of anyone because he found out that they were stealing money from him, and Shotti was, making all this back-end money off his booking and all this stuff. So he said, I'm getting rid of everybody. We're starting new, fresh, and starting possibly with a new image. And I was happy for this because this is what he should have done a long time ago. I'm going to use 50 Cent as an example for this because when 50 first got into the game, he was surrounded by a lot of street people such as Bang'em Smurf and other affiliates of Bang'em Smurf. But when 50 finally made it and got on, he noticed that Bang'em Smurf was really calling a bunch of shots without his approval. And he was going around shooting things up in the hood of where 50 was at. And 50 knew that the police were looking at him because of all the controversy that was surrounding him at the time. Because this is a rapper that got shot 9 times, sold drugs, went against one of the biggest drug groups ever, which was the Supreme Team. And they noticed that, he's very active in the streets. So 50 was getting worried that, Bang'em Smurf was starting to shoot things up without his approval and that would link it to 50. So 50 ended up dropping everybody before he really made it on. And a lot of people say that this was fake and phony, but when people do things without your approval and you're the boss and you're the leader, you need to watch out what they do because it can get linked to you automatically because you're the big name. And this is why I connected to what 6ix9ine has recently had going on. He should have fired these people a long time ago because they're clearly doing a lot of things that 6ix9ine hasn't approved himself. Now, after the Breakfast Club interview of him announcing that he fired everyone from Treyway and Shotti and all that, just a day later the FBI grabbed 6ix9ine and offered him to basically give him protection because they were warned by people that they wanted Shotti and anyone involved with Treyway wanted to kill 6ix9ine, and they were mad at him for basically firing them. So they offered him protection, but he denied that. He said, I didn't want that. He signed the papers and left. And then just 2 days later, on Sunday night, 6ix9ine and 5 of his former associates were arrested by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosive in concert with the NYPD and Homeland Security investigations. 6ix9ine faces a range of racketeering and firearms-related charges, each of which carry maximum sentences ranging between 3 years and life. So this is definitely something very, very serious. And what the FBI is specifically getting him in is the alleged involvements in the armed robbery in Midtown Manhattan in April. And then this is where, the FBI raided him and found, the person's ID and found that big gun that he had with him. And then they're also connecting him to the shooting that happened in Brooklyn. And this was an indictment specifically names the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods as a criminal organization, saying that, he's affiliated with them. He's calling these shots because 6ix9ine is the one with the money. They're saying since he's the one with the money, he's the one that can call the shots of what all these people do, and he can simply pay them off. Now, let's compare this to what happened with Irv Gotti and Ja Rule back in 2003. This is when they got their label shut down because the FBI allegedly said that Supreme, who's a big drug dealer back in the days in the 90s and 80s when he was rolling in Queens, selling drugs, he had the Supreme team, he was calling hit out on people. Then when he got out of prison, he served some time, he got out of prison and started working with Irv Gotti, and Supreme decided to clean his act up and basically wanted to make movies and direct them and stuff like that. So he got involved with Irv Gotti. Irv Gotti helped fund, some of his movies, but the FBI saw it completely differently. The FBI was keeping their eye on Supreme, and they said that Irv Gotti was helping Supreme fund all this illegal activity. He was ordering hits on people still, and he was still selling drugs. Then in 2003, their whole label basically got shut down, and they were having issues like that. I did a whole documentary on this already, but basically, they managed to escape that. Supreme ended up getting locked up, obviously, because he had a bunch of ties and recent murders that were relating to him. But Irv Gotti and his brother Chris Gotti ended up beating the case. And the FBI have a 93% conviction rate. So how they did that, it was amazing. A lot of people were surprised that they made it out of that. I mean, the labels didn't help them at all because they didn't want to get involved in this because they knew that, shit would go down at a 93% conviction rate. It's rare that anybody gets away with this. So I'm comparing it to the situation with 6ix9ine because basically 6ix9ine is the rapper here, the same situation. They're saying that 6ix9ine is essentially getting involved in these things, not only just funding it, but getting involved in stuff like this. And the only person I believe can beat this case is 6ix9ine himself. As far as Shotty and the other people involved, I feel like they're going to get convicted. They're not going to have enough money to have lawyers that are going to be able to defend them very well unless 6ix9ine helps them. And I highly doubt he's going to do that because he found out they're laundering money from him and, keeping secrets away from him of stuff that they were doing and stuff like that. So I'm sure he's not going to help them at all, and he's going to try to defend himself. And I believe this is how he's going to try to defend himself. His lawyer is going to make the case that 6ix9ine is a very young kid that got influenced by the wrong people and got controlled by a lot older adults. Shotty is a way older than 6ix9ine. They're going to say Shotty is the one that, sort of blackmailed him and extorted him, and they're going to say that 6ix9ine was just a kid. He's just here entertaining people. His act is not really gangsta. The people around him are the ones that are doing this. 6ix9ine was just a kid performing, entertaining, and trying to make things seem like they were real. They're going to say he got very manipulated into doing what they were doing, and that they basically threatened his life, threatened his family, that if he didn't do these things they would kill his family, and that all the money that he's getting is going to go to them, stuff like that, basically saying that he's a victim in this and that he's just a kid and that he did not intend for any of this to happen. It was the people surrounding him that intended this to happen. Now, is this going to be a good defense? It's going to be very hard to say because 6ix9ine really brought a lot of this on himself. He was going on social media, constantly calling people out. And then the situation with Chief Keef, there was the shootings back and forth. I'm not saying that 6ix9ine did that. There's no real connection. TMZ was reporting that he ordered a hit out on one of Chief Keef's friend. That is false. There is no connection in that whatsoever. So anyone believing that, please don't. that there's no connection in that. So the argument that 6ix9ine, got tricked into this and all that is going to be hard because they found the gun in 6ix9ine's home when they raided it. They found the ID of that guy, but 6ix9ine was in the car when that guy was getting robbed, and 6ix9ine was the one recording it. So his lawyer can make the case that 6ix9ine wasn't involved in that. He recorded it for his safety, that if, Shotty threatened, him, he could eventually turn this over to the police and basically be a snitch or whatever the case may be. So there are a lot of ways to approach this. I don't know how his lawyer is going to approach this, but I feel like that's the best way to approach it. Just basically say he's a kid, he's an entertainer, and they are doing that already. They're saying that, 6ix9ine just has this image. He's not involved with these gang members like, he's portraying to be. He's just a kid that was surrounded with a bunch of people that were doing a bunch of crazy things, and he wasn't funding any of this and stuff like that. I do not believe 6ix9ine will face life. That's way too far out. I think he's going to have a really good lawyer that's going to argue a lot of things, and he's not going to face life. But I believe he will serve some time. I don't know how many years. It might be 10 years. It might be 5. It might be 2. It might be only 1. But I do believe he's going to serve some time, just simply because he's had 2 prior incidents leading up to this, the sexual assault and then the driving with a suspended license. Those 2 things, they gave him a slap on the wrist. They said, what, don't do anything illegal or anything that's harming anyone or involving any women, but he's done those things. So now it's not going to be a slap on the wrist. They're going to say, this is the 3rd time, you've been involved in something, so clearly we have to give you some sort of sentencing to teach you a lesson. But that's my take on it. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen to 6ix9ine. I'm watching this story very closely, trying to get very great details in this and seeing what's true and what's false. There are a lot of allegations and stuff out there that just simply isn't true. Like him being transferred to a different facility isn't him snitching. I don't know why people keep saying that it is, but it's not. He just got transferred to a different facility. It happens especially with celebrities because they have money, and a lot of people in prison will see that as an opportunity to threaten them, to extort them and stuff like that. So he just simply got transferred to a place with a little more security, which makes sense if you're a celebrity that's very, very rich. So yeah, with that being said, leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think. If you want to support this channel further, you can do so at patreon.com/diverse mentality. For just $1 a month or more, you can help support this channel further. A link is in the description below. Like, comment, share, and definitely subscribe. I do videos like this daily on hip-hop news and much more, so definitely subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at QuakeGW. Like us on Facebook, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.